Hi there. In this video we'll be covering, is writing a book worth it? Writing a book could be so worth it, from generating revenue, opening new doors for you, and transforming your life. By the end of this video, you will learn the biggest benefits from writing a book and why the book itself is just the starting point. And stay tuned until the end of the video for a free opportunity I really think you're going to enjoy. Let's dive in. The first most important thing to keep in mind, yes, writing a book is worth it. I've worked with so many people, so many authors over the years, dozens of them, and it's so interesting to see them take that next step in their journey. You know, going into this book, they have concerns, they have doubts, they have issues, they have insecurities, they have fears, and through that process, they can work through some of those things. They can take that next step in their life, you know, whether it's becoming a thought leader, establishing themselves as a rock star CEO, getting better interview opportunities, speaking engagements. There's so many different things that you can gain from writing a book. A lot of times it's not even about money, even though money is certainly an issue and an opportunity, you know, but it's about checking off a life goal. It's about doing something, giving back to your family, providing insight and input for other people that they can learn something, that they can move forward in their life with renewed purpose. So there's so many reasons why a book can be beneficial for you. It's not just, you know, this idea of writing a book. You know, it's really opening new opportunities. It's establishing yourself in a new way. And it's letting people know that you're the go-to expert on a certain topic. Writing a book is a life goal. You know, so many people go into writing a book thinking of it as a bucket list item, as something that they want to accomplish, you know, something that they've been carrying for years. I want to write a book, or people have been telling them, you need to write a book because your life is so interesting. It's a huge life goal. It's such a great opportunity to be able to put your story down and share it with other people. Think about having a one-on-one conversation with somebody and being able to share guidance and input and help for them. And then think about being able to reach so many more people because you're putting your lessons and your insights into book form. You know, think about the ups and downs that you faced in your life or your career. Being able to share those ups and downs, being able to be vulnerable, you know, being able to reflect, you know, being able to take these things that you've learned in your journey and pass them on to somebody else is such a rewarding thing. You know, it's so meaningful when, you know, you can write a book and somebody can come up to you after reading it and say, this book changed my life, this book moved me, this book made me think differently about something. You know, or you can read the comments online and see what people think about it and just get moved by that. It can really fuel you and move you and drive you to be able to help other people in that way and to be able to leave this legacy. You know, a lot of times people write books for their family. You know, they want their family to be remembered. They want all these things to be, you know, written down, you know, before it's too late. It can be so empowering to be able to capture your stories, to be able to pass them to the next generation, to allow people to learn from the lessons that you've gathered in your life. It can be so rewarding and, you know, fill you with such a sense of purpose and accomplishment to be able to do that, to be able to, you know, carry these lessons forward so someone else can learn from the ups and downs that you faced. In addition to those opportunities, there's so many other revenue opportunities that can be created from a book. A book is a great lead generator. It's a great door opener. There's people I work with who've generated six-figure revenue from the books that we've written together. And that's such a special thing. You know, when you think about the high cost, high value offerings that you have, maybe it's coaching support, you know, maybe it's a course, you know, maybe it's something else. To be able to get a reader to go from reading the book to wanting to work with you is such an important step. It really means that you saw this book as the beginning of the relationship. You know, the book isn't just the beginning and end, that when it's over, you know, but the book is a step. The book is a tool. The book is a platform to continue this relationship, to build it and grow it. And I think it's so powerful when you can see somebody who read your book and says, I want to follow you on social media, I want to follow your email list, I want to meet with you, I want to talk to you, you know, and sharing these perspectives and insights, and you can, you know, help them further from those conversations. A book can also put you on the map. You know, I think back to a book I wrote about a baseball player named Ken Caminiti. And leading into that book, I wasn't known as a baseball expert. I wasn't known as a baseball writer. I had covered baseball in some capacities. I'd been involved with news coverage, but interviewing lots and lots of baseball players then made me more of an expert in that space, and allowed me to write this book and carry this message forward, and it's a powerful thing to be able to be thought of as an expert in a space, to be interviewed, to have op-eds and essays that you write published in leading outlets because of the fact that you wrote this book. The book is just the start of something. The book is this opportunity, this door opener. A lot of times when you write a book, you have no idea what's going to happen afterwards. You have no idea who's going to be touched by the book. You have no idea what opportunities are going to be created by it. And it requires you just to keep going, keep pushing. When I think of that drive to keep going, I think of my friend Jonathan Stanley. We worked together for a little while on his book, Purposeful Performance. By the time that I started working with him, he had a full draft, and we refined it, touched up some spots, sharpened the message a little bit. He came out with the book in 2024 and had a steady launch. He was selling 10, 15, 5, 7, however many copies a week, but it was consistent, and he kept pushing. And he kept posting on social media, and he kept going to author events, and he kept doing book signings. And in early 2025, he was at a bookstore in Pennsylvania, and somebody saw him sitting there at the table. He could have skipped it. He could have said, "What's the point?" But he showed up. He did the work. And someone saw him, a woman and her 4-year-old daughter saw him. He signed the book for the girl. And the woman posted a video on TikTok that went super viral. It was seen over 100 million times. And from that, Jonathan grew his platform, connected with new people, gained an audience, and sold more than 10,000 copies of his book in a single week, just because he showed up and did the work. And obviously good things happened. It's like winning the lottery. People think about luck. Luck is, winning this lottery and getting the right ticket, but you have to play in order to win. You have to put yourself in an opportunity to succeed in order to see it happen. Yes, there is good karma that floats around in the universe, that we can, grab onto and see success from, but we have to put ourselves in the position to succeed. And with Jonathan, the interesting thing for me is that his purpose and his book message was so intertwined with what he was doing and what he's carrying into the world now. He had been laid off from his job and was disappointed. And instead of just wallowing in that and sitting in his frustrations, he decided to write about it. He decided to use that as fuel for his book. And his book was so powerful because he was able to lean into those insecurities and fears and doubts and frustrations. And he was able to take this horrible, frustrating thing and turn it into a positive thing and uplift other people. I think it's so empowering when, we can take those tough points and turn them into positives or try to make the most of them, the silver linings in the storm clouds. That's such an important thing. A lot of times when people think about writing a book, they think about glossing over the tough stuff and just jumping ahead and saying, "Oh, I won. I succeeded. I made the right decisions." But we can't learn a lot from that. It's not replicable. It's a lot more replicable when you can say, here's where I struggled, here's where I fell short, and here's where I succeeded. Being able to take the struggles and disappointments and use them as energy and momentum to make the positive changes in our lives. If you can channel that struggle and you can bottle it up and use it for good, it can have so much benefit. It can benefit not just you, but the reader too. And that's what's so special about this book process. This is a symbiotic thing. By you healing yourself, by you finding your new normal, by you taking that next step in your life, you can also uplift other people. It's the rising tide lifts all ships. And a book offers the opportunity to do that. A lot of times when I work with authors, they think about the book as this closed thing, that this book is finished, that they focus on book sales, they focus on the things that directly connect to the book itself. And I really want you to rethink that. I want you to focus on the secondary things that happen because of the book, the doors that open because of the book, the relationships that get created because of the book, the speaking engagements and interviews that happen because of the book. A lot of times the book itself isn't going to make you money, and the book itself isn't going to be the thing. It's about everything else. It's about stepping into that purpose. It's about stepping into the opportunities. It's about seeing where this whole thing takes you. Writing a book could take you in a new direction in your career and life that you had never even anticipated. But by, talking to people who are reading the book, talking to people who are struggling, you can find a place to really help people. You can find a place where your skills are needed. And through this book, you can find yourself. So there's so many different ways that you can build on the book, and you can use this as the relationship starter. You can use this as the door opener. You can use this as, the thing that's going to help you take the next step in your life. So when I work with authors, a lot of times I help them try to envision what that next step looks like. What do you want to do next? What do you envision for yourself, whether it's speaking engagements, whether it's, being somebody that's called for interviews, whether it's being a leader in the space, whether it's, taking the next step in your journey. It's important to figure out what that next step looks like, because if you can map it out within the book and start taking steps in that direction, you're going to find yourself closer and closer to your dreams. If you want to learn more about, is writing a book worth it? I'd love to share some additional insight and guidance. Just head to my website. It's goodghostwriter.com. You can click the link below, and there you can schedule a one-on-one strategy call with me. I would love to talk to you about your book idea, the struggles you're facing, and the challenges as you're thinking about this book or writing it, and help you in any way I can. Remember, a good book can change your life. I'm Dan Good. Thanks for watching.